Hey guys, how are you? Hope you're all doing very well. This afternoon I'm going to be doing a movie review. This movie is a horror comedy from Spain, Spanish language English subs, released in the year 1995, directed by Alex de la Iglesia, and this film is called The Day of the Beast. So The Day of the Beast is about this priest. He's convinced that the day has come where mankind is going to be terminated by the Antichrist. So this is going to happen on the morning of Christmas, and he's going to have to set out in order to try and get to Satan before it's too late. And the way he's going to do this is that he's going to commit sin after sin after sin, and then he's finally going to sell his soul to the devil. So he's going around, he's doing horrible things, and he ends up joining up with a guy who loves death metal, who's also a Satanist, and he also ends up with a guy who's a celebrity on TV who specialises in telling people's futures. So he believes that this is the best team in order to try and save humanity, and so he goes on a very wild adventure, and whether or not they can do this in time to basically save us all is something you're going to have to find out for yourself, because that's as far as I'm going with my synopsis. Now my thoughts on The Day of the Beast. This was a fairly entertaining film and I actually liked it, but the thing I was a little bit disappointed with is that Alex de la Iglesia is a very, very well-known director as far as Spanish films are concerned and as far as cult films are concerned. You've got films like Perdita Durango, you've got Witching and Bitching, you've got this movie, you've got a whole host of other films that really have got himself a reputation, but after seeing this film, I did have a lot of fun with it, but I was expecting something a little bit more from such a talented director, from such a director with so much credit to his name. I just felt that this film, although it is regarded as one of his best films, it's not really going to be remembered in a few years' time. So it just doesn't have that everlasting quality that I was actually expecting. It doesn't have that quality of his other film called The Last Circus, which is a film I absolutely adored of his. Yes, this is much before that, but I still felt that, going back into this director's catalogue and going back to his earlier films, that it was going to give me an insight into something that was going to really excite me, but unfortunately that didn't do that. But I will go into that a little bit later, but I will go into the positives to start off with. This is a very entertaining dark comedy, and I thought the dark comedy was used very well. This is something that Alex de la Iglesia does a lot better than a lot of other directors, is that he's making you laugh at things you shouldn't laugh at, but he's not doing it in a very obvious manner, in that it's not showing you graphic violence, it's showing you things that are happening that will offend people if you are very sensitive, but at the same time it's not making it obvious. So whether or not this priest is denouncing God in order to try and get to Satan, if you're extremely religious, you're going to be offended at that. There's also perceptions on how we view people who are into death metal, which I really enjoyed. A lot of people consider death metal people to be Satanists, and I think this movie really plays on that perception. And it's not making fun of the people who like death metal, it's more making fun of people who actually see death metal fans in this light. And it's the same with religion. It's poking fun at religion, it's poking fun at the perceptions of what a priest should be. And this priest, when he's doing all these things, it was actually really funny, but at the same time very offensive. And that's what you want from a dark comedy. Dark comedies have to be offensive, and it has to be done, and it has to be making fun of it. And I think Alex de la Iglesia does that better than a lot of directors out there. So I really enjoyed the characters in this film. I thought the trio, they were crazy. You got the priest who is on the brink of losing his mind. You see him as kind of an anti-hero. He's doing all these horrible things in order to try and get Satan's attention, in order to exterminate Satan. But what he's doing is just a contrast, is kind of contradicting everything that made him a priest. And then you've got the person who steals the show. You've got the guy who loves death metal, played by Santiago Segura, who is a very good actor. He seems to be a favourite amongst Alex de la Iglesia films. His character was just insane. He was a very fun-loving kind of guy, but at the same time he worshipped Satan. And the way he talked about death metal, it was just very funny. And when you see it, you will know what I mean. Then you've got the guy who was a fortune teller on TV, and that was poking fun at celebrity culture. It's poking fun at, telling lies in order to get the ratings, and that's exactly what this character does. And so you've got all these hidden sort of bonuses within a dark comedy that make it a lot more enjoyable than a lot of other dark comedies out there. So on a technical level, Alex de la Iglesia does deliver a good film, but as I said, it just lacks that spark that makes it a film that will going to be remembered in a few years. From Alex de la Iglesia's perspective, from such a well-known director as far as the cult sort of area is concerned, I just wanted a little bit more. They do go on this wild adventure, they're doing these horrible, these very despicable things, and you're laughing at them, and it's very well written. I thought the characters really played well off each other, the chemistry was there, but at the end of the film you say, okay, well, if this was an everyday director, okay, I enjoyed that film, but that's what it has. It has the everlasting presence of an everyday director. It doesn't have the everlasting presence of someone who has got a name for himself. And so it just doesn't stand out from the rest of the crowd, and at the end of the day you think, okay, well, alright, yeah, I enjoyed it, but then, okay, what's next? What can I watch next? And then all of a sudden, a few years later, you'll be thinking, oh, what was Day of the Beast like again? I'm going to have to watch it again just to remember what it was about. So it's that type of feel, and I think that coming from someone who's not won over by Alex de la Iglesia yet, as I said, I love The Last Circus. I didn't like Witching and Bitching all that much. I think Witching and Bitching had its moments as well as The Day of the Beast, and I will say that they are very similar towards each other, although I think The Day of the Beast is slightly better than Witching and Bitching, but it's nowhere near the Last Circus. So I've got one film of Alex de la Iglesia that I absolutely loved, and the rest of the films really haven't won me over. I've still got to watch Perdita Durango, which is his other film that a lot of people consider to be his best film. But until then, until I watch this film, I'm definitely umming and ahhing about whether or not I like Alex de la Iglesia. There is no doubting that he's got a lot of talent, but for someone of his calibre, I just expect a little bit more everlasting sort of presence, a more memorable sort of vibe around his work, which is something I'm not really getting at the moment. So overall, for The Day of the Beast, it is very funny, it's very provocative, it's got very eerie elements, it's got very naturally funny elements, but in the end, it's a movie that, as I said, you won't remember in years to come. So overall, for The Day of the Beast, going to give it 3.5 stars, still going to recommend it, go out there and see it. Alright guys, that's it for my review. Hope you enjoyed it. The next time you watch movies, I'll see you later. Bye.